Now, if you've watched this show before, you know these are colors I'm not Miss Pink person. Okay, here comes a good one. Something unexpected in the shadows. I like to put unexpected things everywhere. I don't know, you ever remember being a kid and playing with the shadows on the wall and doing little birds? Hi, welcome to Give Your Wall Some Soul. Well, before the shoot, we got everything set up, and I was playing with my putter. They've got a great floor in here. It's really good for practice. And all of a sudden, the guy said, "Oh my God, we're Shannon. We're getting ready to shoot." So I have to put the putter away. But one cool thing about this is it says never compromise, and I was thinking about how that relates to paintings. It doesn't. Sometimes you gotta compromise. It just depends on what you're working on. So I will put the putter away and we'll get started. Okay, today it's all about fortune cookie. We're doing one huge, because I can't paint small. We're doing one huge fortune cookie, and I thought, wouldn't that be cool to just really focus on not only the energy of the painting and making it a likeness, but also so that we're giving whoever sees this good fortune. I thought it'd be a great place to start. And it's sitting in a sea of blue, so there's not a lot of red in this painting, but we're going to get through it anyway. So where are we going to start? Well, I think right here in the middle is the most reflective red that we can see. So that's definitely where I'm going to start. We got to at least have some red going on. All right, so I'm going to get a little yellow ochre and some cad red light. Mix that together. And that's a little loud, a little over the top, especially for a shadow area. So I'm going to tone it down with some violet. And why did I pick violet? Because it's the opposite of that, that gold on the color wheel. This might be a little too much, but I'm going to put it down and see what happens. Actually, I got lucky. I think it's a good shadow color for the inside of this cookie. Somebody was asking when I would do something with golf balls. That's coming, probably next episode. But you know me, it's either food or golf lately. Okay. So I'm going to start right here on the inside, and this is all about form, making the cookie look three-dimensional, and I really like the river of fabric that it's on. So it's something solid and some solidity in an area where there's a lot of movement. And I just looked at my brush, and it's way too small for what I'm using, so I'm getting a little bit bigger one. That's better. You always want to start with the biggest brush you think you can handle for the job. So I'm starting right here. Oh, that's a wonderful color. And I have too much medium and not enough paint, so I'm actually going to wipe some of that off. And then dip it right in the straight paint. Yeah, that's a nice color. Nice way to start. Now this is a lot darker than the reference photo, but this is going to make it read better. Yeah, that's pretty. So I'm painting my own fortune, so I've decided that since I'm doing that, I might as well make it good. Gotta have good fortune. And somebody was asking why don't you have a little piece of paper with the fortune sticking out of there? And I thought about that. I thought about the compositional element of putting that in there. But I decided that I wanted it to be more mysterious. So I left it just inside, like you'd have to crack it open to find out what was going on. All right, so we got a little bit of dark there. I'm going to add a little bit more ochre and then some white to tone that down to this mixture. Let's see how that looks. Still a little pink, but it might work. Yeah, that's good. Yep, the putter doesn't work with this as far as never compromise, because there are some times, especially when you're first starting to paint, where you try to mix a color and you try and you can't get it the way you want it, and you just do the best you can with what you have, and you keep going, and eventually things will start to take shape. So sometimes you do have to compromise a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Now I'm going to wipe my knife. Keep keeping these clean. But I am going to use a dirty brush just to help brush mix this. You know, I'm putting it down, and as I put it down, it just looks a little too cool to me. And I need to warm it up, so I'm going to grab some yellow ochre and a little bit of white. Yeah, that's better. For the shadow area, that's much better. So it's okay to change your mind midstream. Oh, see, isn't that much better? That's just happier. Yeah, this is definitely a better color. And I'll just merge these two together. I'm blending as I go. I see a little bit of red down there at the bottom, so I'm just going to put a little red from my brush and mix it right in with what I'm doing. So now we have this obscure little triangular shape. And if you notice, if you look at a fortune cookie, it's all about, they're definitely triangular shapes, like 3 big triangles. And I was very conscious about keeping, as far as the composition, making this space different than this space, having it tilt a little bit. Want to add interest. That's good. Okay, now I'm going to add a little more red in there. Just because you have to start the day off with some red. Not enough going on in that painting. Okay, that warms it up a little. And then even a little orange. I see lots of color in this cookie. The model I actually left in my studio because I didn't think it would survive the trip here. Of course, it's been sitting out there for so long before I decided what to do with it. I'm not going to eat it, but it's a good model. Okay, now I'm blending the darker area. Okay, so there's just really a subtle change between here and here and here. So it seems stark at first, but lightly blending, it's a nice subtle change. I may need to reinstate the darks later, but I'm not going to play with it till I get the whole canvas covered. All right, so now the next shape I'm going to go to is this triangular shape here. And in order for something to be dark, to have that form and look three-dimensional, you definitely need to have a dark, medium, and light area there. So I'm going to go ahead and mix the light. And what do I see? It's got a little bit of cad yellow deep and yellow ochre, a little warmer. That's a nice, yeah. And I might overstate the light. Sometimes I overshoot the light just because when I'm blending, I might blend too much, blend it. Okay, I know what I tend to do wrong, and that's that I overblend. So if I overstate the light a little bit, it helps me, helps guard against my own tendencies. If you can be really careful, you might not need to make it that light. But I have trouble being that careful. Okay, I'm looking for a little skinny brush. There we go. And I'm just almost going to outline this little area here. This is going to be a harder edge. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so we have light on this very edge here. Oh, it goes pretty much down to the base where it's resting on the cloth. And then I'm going to make a little bit of a darker medium tone for right in here, and we shall blend it. But it's not going to be quite the same color there, so I'm going to add a little bit of red. Why am I adding red? Besides the fact that I like it. Actually, it is warmer in this area, so I'm going to add red to this mix that we already have. Red and a little cad red light. Okay, let's see how this works. Sometimes you need to put it down before you can see whether it's going to be effective. It's kind of a little close to what I have there, so I think I need to add a little more warmth to it. I think it was just a little too close. Never thought you'd be looking at the anatomy of a fortune cookie. And I'm going to put light on the other side. So there's a little bit of light at the edge, then a medium tone, then a little bit lighter, and then light. There we go. That's a nice mid-tone. Throw a bunch of light out there. I did get a lot of calls about after the last, and a few emails after the last episode, and nobody wants to hire me to play the kazoo, that's for sure. But I do appreciate the feedback. But think about it, if you have a kazoo in your studio and you play it every once in a while, it helps you not take everything so seriously. Just like the sock monkey. Yeah, okay, so I have sock monkey in the studio while I'm painting, I have sock monkey while I'm golfing. I tend to get really focused on what I'm doing and forget, that you just lighten up a little bit. So these guys help me do that. Okay, so this is really light up here, so I'm going to change my brush before I wipe that out. I'm going to get almost some straight, I got lost. Get some straight white with some Rodney Dangerfield Indian Yellow. Okay, it's not officially Rodney Dangerfield Indian Yellow, it's just like him on Caddyshack. It's very, very loud. Oh! I was at the PGA merchandise show in Orlando. This is the golf show. They had a booth there that had the loudest, wildest clothes you ever saw. I mean, beyond, you know what, it'd be fun to have a tournament with everybody wearing clothes like that. They were wild, really loud. I didn't mind the loud, I just don't like the colors that hurt when you look at them. But you know what, that's a personal thing. What hurts one person doesn't hurt another. There's some combinations that just really touch my heart, and then others that don't, but it's very personal. Color is a very personal thing. Like, I love this little butter color I just put down. That's happy. Then I'm going to reinstate and put a little bit of extra light here so I don't miss this as well. Okay, it's funny because here I am painting and I'm thinking about golf, but I have to admit that sometimes when I'm out on the course and I see, the beauty of what's out there, I think about painting too. They just both cross over to each other. Oh, that's neat. Okay, so we've got this there, and I definitely need to lighten that up so that that turns a little bit more. Good exercise at home for drawing is to draw one piece of popcorn. There's a whole world in a little piece of popcorn. I mean, all kinds of really cool shapes. So something as simple or seemingly simple as a fortune cookie or a piece of popcorn it's very contemplative, and they're good exercises. I'm scrubbing out my pencil line. And then I'm blending softly. I can do that every once in a while. Adding in some of the darker tones. Yeah, I guess that was that brush. And I'm going to echo some of this color right down in here. In fact, this is even darker here, so I'm going to add a little bit more red. That doesn't make sense, right? If it's darker and more in the shadow, we're going to add a little more red. Well, I wanted to make it a little deeper color. And then I'm going to wipe my brush just a little bit. Because I want to use a dirty brush, but I don't want as much paint on there. That will make this transition be a lot easier. And I'm all about smooth transitions. I was on the flight to Orlando. There was an unusual, probably one of the most turbulence that I've ever had in any flight, and it was scary. So one of the things I did was I got out the in-flight magazine and I started sketching the guy on the cover, and by being able to focus while I was sketching on that, it really took my mind off the fact that we were, just jumping all over the place. So, but I was really grateful that I could do that because it really helped me just totally get my mind off of that. So if you get scared on a plane, try drawing. There's a little light hair, a little light band. Just a little bit, slightly darker on the edge. And I'm going outside of the lines because I want to get rid of that pencil line. And I can go over it with the background. Now, normally you would start with the background. It would be logical to start with it would be logical to start with the background and then put what you're painting on top of it. But if you've watched the show before, this is live to tape. And if I started with the background, I might not ever get to the cookie, ever. So I thought what I would do is really focus on getting the cookies to a state where you could recognize it as such, and then we'll see how the background evolves. And speaking of cookies, I'm definitely all one for eating dessert first. I've been known to have been compensated for my work in chocolate. Chocolate is happy. Okay, so this is starting to take some shape. A little bit anyway. Let's see, what's this doing here? I need to blend this. Blend this and move on. It's kind of hard to draw on a plane when you're in the middle seat, though. Here's your elbows. You try to be careful, but your elbows get to your neighbor, and of course I didn't know my neighbor, so I was glad this trip I was by the window. I didn't worry about hitting anybody. Okay, that's a good start for that side. I'll get back and look at it. Yeah, a little more blending and it will be happy. I'm going to wipe my brush a little bit and we'll move over. And I'm actually going to brush a little and step back, see what I did. There we go. And now I'll move on to the other side. I could keep playing with this, but again, I definitely want to move over the other side and get this thing covered first. It might actually, I'm so tempted to keep playing, but I can't. I gotta move over. I was thinking it might actually be better to have this dark and then move over, but I think that would, if I just put a little dark right on this edge before I move on to the other side, it'll turn better. Yeah. Okay, so what do we have here on this side? Well, my reference photo is not that clear. You can't really see what's going on here, but I'm gonna assume that there's a little ridge that kind of goes like that. Something like that. And then there was a little bit of red. I don't know if you noticed that when I first start painting, I mix everything very carefully and talk about it, and then I just start sticking my brush into a color. So I'm backing away so that I can actually explain what I'm doing. I had a dirty brush and I grabbed a little bit of red and moved it over so that I can do this darker area here. This is too dark for that side because it's in the light, so I had to grab something warm to lighten it up. Yeah, it's better. Might not be enough paint, but it's better. All right, let's see how this looks. It's not warm enough. That's better. And there's a little gold, kind of a gold color right here. Oh, that's a little too mustardy. I can fix that. Add a little white, that'll tone it down. White makes things lighter and duller. So in this case, it's just what the doctor ordered. We wanted to dull it down a little bit. And now I'll get my light brush. I'm just scrubbing this thing in. And there's very light on the very edge. And I'm going to overstate this again too. And scrub out the pencil line. I'll cover up some of that with the background if we get that far. And you know what? Sometimes paintings just don't work out. The last show, I started one of some silver, and I just didn't like the way it was going. And I told you guys, if you check in a couple weeks, it'll be on my website. Well, you are not going to find it because it's in the John Smith collection. Well, if you're from here, you would know that John Smith is our local dump, and so that's where the painting lives now. But sometimes you gotta throw them out. It just feels better. It's okay. So I hope you do start painting, because what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is that you throw it out. I mean, hey, start a new one. I go in with the attitude that they're all going to be masterpieces. I really do. I really, you know, I get the best canvas, the best paint, everything I can, and I do the best that I can and hope that it works, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Of course, the longer I've been painting, there's a better frequency of more that come out okay. But I am still capable of producing something that just needs to go. And then I've had people call after a show like this and say, well, you know, when did you throw it out? I'm going to go get it out of the dump. And I'm like, no, you know what? I make sure that they're not recognizable by the time they get there. Okay, that's starting to flip and look like a little cookie. We might even do some background today. Cover the whole canvas. Okay, so at this point, you take a look at that cookie and it's like, okay, it's starting to twist and turn. I could throw in some, I think I'll touch up a few little places on there, and then I'll start throwing in the background, because it would be nice to get that into context instead of just this floating spacey cookie. We had a lot of conversations about the space program before the start of the show, so that's kind of where my head's in that place. One of the camera people is a rocket man. So, all right, let's do some fast and furious background. Gonna need a bunch of medium for this, and I will actually probably pre-mix dark, medium, and light so that we can get it down quickly. All right, so I've been into this blue lately. All right, so I grabbed some ultramarine blue, bunch of it. And the dark is I'm gonna add some quinacridone violet, make a nice dark. I'm trying to keep it away from that white. I don't want to pick that up there yet. Okay, that's a nice dark. Makes it a little more neutral. I'm going to move my medium over so I have a place to mix. And then I'll add a little more blue. This is going to be the lighter blue with some white. Whoa, didn't quite make it there. My floor at home is full of spots where it didn't quite make it there. All right. That's nice, but it's not near enough paint, so I'm just going to grab a whole bunch of this. That's a pretty good light. Might need to be, so it's on the fence. Do I make it lighter or do I make it darker? So I'm gonna make this one more of a medium blue. So I'm gonna add more blue to it. And I think that was might be a little too gray, or not gray enough. So I'm gonna add a little red, just a bit. So even when it looks like it's totally a blue thing, I've always got red there somewhere. Okay, that's good. And I think the light can simply be a little bit of this blue with lots of, whoa. My palette's moving. think that might be good. I'm going to try it. One of my favorite quotes is, "Sometimes you have to take the leap and build your wings on the way down." I definitely paint like that. That's why some of them end up in the John Smith collection. But I at least enjoy the ride. Okay, so let's throw some dark in here. And pretty much wherever there's a little line here that I've drawn is going to be dark. I like this little undulating movement in the fabric. Normally I wouldn't paint in all these ribs, but I liked the contrast between this solid object and all this movement. And I'm quickly putting in the darks, and then I'm going to just see how quickly I can get this background roughed in before the show ends. Changing a few of the lines because the way the fabric dropped off here, I didn't want this to be, I didn't want the fortune, I mean, symbolically, if you've got part of this fortune falling off, that's not happy. That's not a good thing. I don't want anybody's fortune to fall off, so I'm going to change this line so that it just goes more this way at this angle, so we have more steady fortune for those who paint it and for those who view it. I don't usually talk so much about the symbolic nature of my paintings, but they all embody those characteristics. So it's something I'm conscious of when I'm painting it. Okay, so that was a good start there. I don't want to ever send anybody bad energy from my paintings. Okay, I've got a couple places where I'm actually going to be careful, and that's right where this is seated. But after that, I'll be able to paint wildly again, and that will be a lot more comfortable. But, I also know people that as much as it's more comfortable for me to just go woohoo all over the canvas, for them it's more comfortable to be wild, to be very sedate and very careful. And so you got to go with whatever your personality is. It's all pretty much dark here, this little shadow area. All right, so it's going to be a series, to sketch this in, it's going to be a series pretty much of just, again, dark, medium, and light so that we can show the form of the fabric. That was dark too. All right, so I'll overstate the lights, and I think what I'll do is use this warm brush that's got some of the fortune cookie color in it for the lights, and then that way it'll tie it all together, hopefully. I'm going to use lots of medium and paint quickly. It's probably hard to see when you're painting something this light on a light background that it's doing anything. But it won't be invisible for too much longer. And I'm just throwing the light in the very center of this. And then we'll put the medium tone right at the edges. The beginning stages of a painting are really, you can be loose, and there's a lot more energy, or a different kind of energy that goes into the beginning than it goes into the end. So I usually have 2 or 3 pieces. Sometimes I think the most I had going was 8, and that was just out of control. But I have several pieces in the studio going at one time, and that way I'm always in the mood for one piece, and the state of completion of a painting matches whatever energy level I have. So if I've got lots of energy, then I'm starting paintings. If I'm a little more quiet, then I'm doing other stages. This is a whole lot of blue for a Shannon painting. In some places, I'm going right over the edge of the cookie because I don't want the pencil mark to show later. Okay, so now it just looks like wild squiggles, and it is. That's all it is right now. So I'm going to put in the middle color. I'll just start right here. Blend it right into this dark. And I'll go on this edge. Looks like I missed a little area here. That's all right. Create a little interest. And when I run up against the lighter color, I'm just blending it. I don't have as much pressure, and that's how I'm blending it. And I'm not putting any more paint on my brush until I go to the next area. So here I go right into this section. Again, go up to the edge. Step back, see if that's starting to work. Yes, it is. That's happy. So I'm going to always put the light right up against the dark. And then have the medium blend right in there. I may have to reinstate the darks at the end too. Back, so this is when you get 2 brushes out. I guess it depends. If you're at home and you're not worried about time, you might just do 1 brush at a time. Maybe not, though. Because really what happens, I don't know, after I've been on the show about maybe 10 minutes, I get to a point where I forget I'm painting. I mean, I'm painting in front of people. So I do things that I would normally do in the studio, which is really good because then you just get a good idea of how to really do it. All right, we're going to 3 brushes now. Gonna add the dark. That's good. And I'm not sure if now that I'm putting this down, whether I think it's too busy, but I'm going to continue to paint till I get this to a certain point before I start judging it. I think I'll get this canvas covered. Add the medium tone. Yeah, I don't think I like the way that fabric's doing that, so I'm changing it. It's one of the great things about painting. You can make life suit you. And the more I look at it with all the different stuff going on, I'm like, I just don't. I could start to put in the rest of this fabric, and I'm thinking, you know what? I want the whole thing to be fairly quiet. So I'm going to make a radical change here on the background. and blend that out, because I think I like the sense of space, so that there's just this quiet cookie and quiet background. The whole thing I think is going to be quiet now. So how do I change that midstream? Well, you get a good scrubbing brush, because we're going to scrub it like crazy. This one's old. It's barely hanging in there, but it's going to work. So I'm going to get lots of medium. And you can hear me scrubbing, boy. It's just there. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to have to make some differentiation in the background, but at least I think I do like this quieter thing going on here. So let's see what we can do in the last bit of this show to change this painting. I do kind of like some of that hint of dark. That adds some interest, so we'll see how that plays out. I'm making sure I'm blending right into the cookie, because I don't want the brush strokes to go here and then go away, run away. Gotta hold this down. Like the plane ride, this little canvas is getting a little bit of turbulence. Whoops. Okay, so this will happen. You've got stuff flying everywhere, and paint just drips where you don't want it. And I just take a little knife, lift it up again. And then I'll take a brush with the same color and just get rid of it. Not a big deal. And I hear somebody saying, easy for you to say. Well, it really is. Even if it's a dark color and it didn't wipe away that easily, because that could happen too, you can just wait till it dries and paint over it. The reason I have to scrub so hard is because I'm trying to get rid of some of the dark lines in the background. Cool. I like that. I like it, I like it. All right, so let's see, this is kind of light here. And what's it doing here? Well, this has got to be seated. Can't be just floating. No more rocket stuff here. So I'm going to put a little dark right under here. Actually, being careful for a minute. Won't last long, don't worry. Blend out this stuff. Ooh, it's like a sky. This is neat. You know, sometimes when you paint, not only do you go to plan B, but you go to D, E, and F, and it's all good. It is all good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm liking the quiet. I like it quieter better. Yeah. Now I could paint this same painting on a different day and be in a different mood, and I would have loved the ribs. Love to paint the ribs. It's a mellow day, though. We'll actually get the canvas covered this time. So now I'm going to clean it up a little bit. See what shapes we like. I think that needs to come over a little bit. All right, so what do we do to finish this puppy? Well, might be a little too wet to reinstate the lights, but I'm going to dry it anyway. All right, so the lightest light is right up here. I'm going to separate this from the background. A little bit of separation here. This shape needs to be adjusted. There we go. A little bit of light just in there. And we could keep playing with the shapes, but basically, this is a good step one for the cookie. It's got the basic shapes going, and now what I would do is I would let it dry and then reinstate the darks a little bit of the darks here, maybe play with this shadow, and see where the background has. I'm going to blend the whole thing into the cookie so that when I do go back in, you won't have any hard edges, and then I'll be able to paint over the top of this, and we won't be trying to paint around the cookie. So this is a really good start for this, and I encourage you to try a simple plain shape at home, and if a painting isn't going the way you thought it should, go to plan B, C, D, E, or F. Thanks for watching Give Your Wall Some Soul. I'm Shannon Grissom.